What's going on, golf addicts? It's the Tour Junkies podcast, the Northern Trust, the first event of the FedEx Cup playoffs. I'm your host, David Barnett. How's it going, Pat? Pat Perry, you doing all right, bud?
Yeah, I'm good. Did you almost forget my last name for a second there?
No,
It's like you
no,
had to
no, no,
remind
not at
yourself,
all.
Pat Perry.
Not at all, sir. I would never. You're not a forgettable guy. You know who is forgettable? Jim Herman. That's
Jim
who's forgettable.
Herman. Yes.
Jim Herman winning last week at 500 to 1. But hey, we said it. We said, listen, anybody can freaking win this thing. I said Davis Love won at 500 to 1 5 years ago. Now, I did not predict Jim Herman would win,
Yeah.
but he came up and took it from Billy Ho and Siwoo Kim and our boy Doc Redmond, who we had a 70 to 1 ticket on. Jim Herman, he just comes out of nowhere every couple years and wins a golf tournament.
Hand it to him. I mean, he's got 3 victories now, which is 2 more than Tony Finau. And they're actually in legit tournaments, not just like an off, field event like Puerto Rico. So
he reminds me of Jim Herman reminds me of like a gastroenterologist.
I was thinking CPA.
CPA is too easy. Like he's kind of a
Okay.
gastroenterologist. He's just kind of a guy who decided to go to school to study esophaguses and buttholes and intestines. But he's a super nice guy and he's like a deacon at his church and he can just golf his ball very accurately, and drop a lot of putts.
He actually hit some pretty cool shots down the
He
stretch.
did. That 34-foot driver that got 34 feet up in the air on 18. Holy balls. That was an incredible shot.
It gives me confidence that that like I could actually, not hit a shot like he can hit a shot. But I mean, you see a guy like that play so well on tour and you're like, okay, well, maybe I can do something. Like maybe I need to be trying to emulate Jim Herman. I mean, stop worrying about, Ricky Fowler or whoever else. Like, I mean, that's who I need to emulate,
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Sure, man. If that's what you want to do, I think there's other options. I mean, you don't have to go all the way to Fowler or Matt Wolf or whatever. You could just there's probably something between that and Jim Herman, the gastroenterologist,
Like a
Dr.
Kevin
Herman,
Streelman, Kevin Streelman, maybe.
Yeah. There's something between that and Dr. Herman. All right, that is all that we were going to talk about the Wyndham Championship tonight because it is the FedEx Cup playoffs, as we mentioned. I've got my podcast juice. I'm almost out. I'm going to finish it tonight. That's all I got left right here in the old Wild Leap. Hey, cheers, buddy.
Yeah,
cheers.
I'm going to finish this off myself. That's all I got left.
Look at that, man. We timed that nicely.
Yeah.
That's it. Just came out of the freezer, a little Wild Leap vodka from our friends at Wild Leap. Thanks to them. I got plenty right here in this old trusty podcast
Same
juice
here.
Liquid holder. You know what I mean? Also known as a cup.
I feel like you have all these different TJ Yeti drink, these Yeti things. I don't have any of them.
That's because I work with people that know how to make vinyl stickers. So I just get them to make me stuff.
Nice. Good
job.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Hey, we are going to very quickly get in the course breakdown. 2 quick announcements. Number 1, a lot of people seem to have missed this last week. I didn't realize how many people subscribe to the Chalk Bomb and don't listen to the podcast, which I don't understand. But apparently a lot of them. So new Chalk Bomb and blog structure that went into effect last week. The only thing in the Chalk Bomb email from now on will be the intro write-up on the golf course on how to approach the week, the head-to-head matchups, the Chalk Bomb itself, obviously, which is the cornerstone piece of content, and then pontificate with Pat. That is the only thing remaining in the Chalk Bomb. The 10 key stats and my big balls betting card will be leaving the Chalk Bomb and now living on the tourjunkies.com website for free that you can view, okay? The 10 key stats, my big balls betting card will both be out on Tuesday. And then you'll want to check back on Wednesday at the betting card once it's finalized. The Tuesday betting card version will be like, here's who I'm looking at, but I haven't narrowed it down yet. You might want to jump on some of these numbers now in case they get shorter. But then Wednesday, I'll finalize the card. Then also on Wednesday, you have Pat's Fantasy Golf Sommelier article coming out and my new article, which will finally debut this week, The Pivot Point, where I discuss very popular picks and where we can pivot in GPPs to get some leverage and why. I apologize. None of that happened last week. Last week on Tuesday night, I got ill. And then on Wednesday, I woke up and I felt terrible. I got a COVID test. Me and you both got a COVID test last week,
Yes.
both negative, but it sucked. You self-administered your test, which
Yes.
I tweeted this, and it still blows my mind that Pat can self-administer his own COVID test, yet he can't really come up with an IG story for Instagram. But he can. I cannot imagine. I did not self-administer mine. I had a girl shove those things up my nostrils, and it was extremely uncomfortable. And I can't believe you did that by yourself.
Yeah, it was. I kind of shocked myself a little bit too. And as I mentioned to you on the phone, if you self-administer, it's probably worse because you immediately start to think, all right, I can't give myself a bad test, right? Like I don't want to just like barely nudge it up there. You know,
You got to commit.
You really got to commit. So then you probably shove it up higher than you should, just because you're like, okay, I got to do this right. It was awful. I think uncomfortable, by the way, is the right word that you just said. It's not painful.
It's extremely uncomfortable though.
It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And your eyes start watering because I think you're hitting nerves and stuff up there. Like, oh my gosh. Anyway.
So that's what happened last week. Won't happen this week. Last little thing we got to tell you about before we get into the course breakdown is we have a new segment on SiriusXM Radio on the Tony Bruno Show, the legend Tony Bruno. Did you know that Tony Bruno was with Mike Golick on ESPN in the mid-90s before Mike Greenberg? That when Tony Bruno left ESPN, that's when Mike Greenberg became the second Mike of Mike and Mike. How about that? Well, fun fact. Tony Bruno, legend of the radio game, been doing it a long time. And he is going to start having us on his show every Wednesday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern. He's live from 3 to 6 on the Dan Patrick Radio channel on SiriusXM, channel 211. So channel 211 starting this Wednesday. Every Wednesday at 4:20, me and Pat will be on the Tony Bruno Show, giving some last-minute thoughts and advice for the golf tournament that week, talking a little golf with Tony. If you have SiriusXM, please go give it a listen, tune in. We would appreciate it and engage with the show. We're really excited about that. And just to do that with Tony Bruno is quite humbling, to say the least. So we're excited about that. Check that out this week. Pat, that's all I got. Let's get into the golf course this week. We've got 125 golfers, so we got a little less to talk about in terms of golfers, a little less to go through anyway. But the first event of the FedEx Cup at a new but not new venue, TPC Boston. What do we need to know about the golf course?
All right. So, yes, as you said, this is the Northern Trust this week. We are in Norton, Massachusetts. That's not really good, Boston, Norton, just outside of Boston anyway.
Actually, I learned this today. Closer to Providence, Rhode Island than Boston. Did you know that? Yeah. I'm full of little tidbits tonight. It is 20 miles from Providence, Rhode Island, but 30 from Boston.
Okay. Well,
so when you're checking
still call
your
it
weather,
a suburb of Boston.
Yeah. When you're checking your weather, you need to think through that.
Yeah. Anyway, TPC Boston is a par 71. It is playing just over 7,300 yards. It is, as you mentioned, the first playoff event this year. We'll only have 3 with 125 players. Top 65 in ties will still make the cut this week. And we're going to get it down to 70 players that will advance to next week's tournament. It is an Arnold Palmer design with a Gil Hanse facelift back in 2006.
Ooh, sexy.
Yeah, sexy. It is.
That's a sexy combination.
It really is. It is. Bent grass greens this week, and I think they're going to run pretty quick, about 11 to 12 on the stent meter. Fairways are Princeville. Have you ever heard of that before? Princeville grass? Yeah, never heard of that.
Like when doves cry, Bill?
I don't know. I've never seen that. Anyway, Kentucky bluegrass rough with fescue. You should see, I think, a good amount of scoring this week. We have in the past on this course. This used to be the Dell Technologies / Deutsche Bank. It was one of the first events of the playoff that they cut out back in last year. So really, when you're looking at your history here, it's from 2018 and before that. We have good course history, but it starts in 2018 and then backs up from there. So that's something that's important. Don't be looking at, the Northern Trust for the last few years because they didn't play this course. One of the things that these guys are definitely going to have to score on is the par fives. You got 3 par fives on this course. 2 are less than 550 yards, and they yielded a ton of eagles and birdies the last time they were here in 2018. So you got to score on these par fives this week. The fairways are relatively easy to hit. I think there is definitely a theme that the Bombers are going to have, as they always do, a very good advantage on this course. But I am looking at strokes gained approach. The greens aren't huge, so I still think you got to be good with your irons this week. I'll be looking at that. I'll be looking at off the tee, as I mentioned. I'll be looking at putting on bent grass greens. I think that's important as well. And par 5 scoring. Looking at past champs, I'm going to mention the ones at TPC Boston. So not for the Northern Trust. So we had Bryson in 2018, JT in 2017. Rory has won his second title here in 2016, Fowler in 15, and Chris Kirk in 2014. So that is your quick rundown for the Northern Trust this week. Anything you want to add, DB?
From Boston, a lot of people in the YouTube live comments not approving of your Boston accent whatsoever, including our friend Nita, who apparently is from Boston. She says our accents need some work. Can you say like park the car?
Park the car.
Can you go park the car in the yacht?
I just remember.
What a wicked strain of grass that is. That fairway grass.
How about them apples?
Is that Boston?
I know it's from the movie. What's the movie with smart guy? He played a smart guy. Come on, you saw it. It was a great movie.
Good Will Hunting.
Good Will Hunting. He hands the phone number in the window, and he tells the dude, "Hey, how about them apples? I got her number."
Oh yeah, I don't remember that movie. I was like 9 when that movie came. I don't know.
It was a good movie, really good movie.
Well, you're talking about the last few Dell Technology Open champions with Bryson, JT, Rory, Ricky's won here. I think your scoring is going to look similar as well, around 15 to 17 under, which is what happened there, because I think conditions are going to be about the same. Looks to be pretty dry, not a lot of rain. Ball should run a little bit. Wind is a big defense here at this golf course if it gets going, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad right now. So it could be just kind of warm, dry, which is a recipe for wicked sweaty balls. Because if you got sweaty balls in Boston, you're going to need some Chill Boys underpants. And the underpants that we like to use are the Chill Boys underpants because they got the anti-chafing slide zone, and it keeps your balls from chafing in the Boston heat. I think that's pretty good, actually. I love Mark Wahlberg. I'm a huge Mark Wahlberg fan, so I watch
that was good. I was just hoping you weren't going to do the entire ad.
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
I can't
like
do
finish
that.
it out. Yeah, regular.
Our boys at Chill Boys, they're from Minnesota, which is a little different than Boston, I think.
You just kind of like combined two. Yeah,
I may have combined them. They're Chill Boys underwear from Minnesota. They are amazing. We've been wearing them for the last few weeks now. I've thrown out a bunch of old boxers that had like holes in them, and they were not looking good. And you know what? I got to tell you. I don't want to get too personal here because I know we got some ladies in the YouTube chat, but I've been a briefs guy since like I was 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before that, there was like this little period of time when I was a teenager. I wore boxers. It was like cool to wear boxers. I don't know why nobody ever saw them, but it was cool. Well, they sent us a pair of boxers that are that bamboo material, really soft and breathable.
Nice.
I got to be honest, I am wearing those a lot. They feel
those
very special. They feel very special.
I'm older, so I'm gonna like those better. But
yeah,
but also the cooling ones that are made out of like the whatever material.
All of them are cool and comfortable, very soft. So head over to chillboys.com to see the full line of the soft boxers and boxer briefs. Use code Tour Junkies to save 15% off your first order. We got a couple big deals for people tonight. 15% off, not no measly 10, and not just off of one product, but off the entire order. 15% off your entire order. Head over to chillboys.com and use code Tour Junkies. Save that 15% off. Thank us later. Listen, I got to be honest with you. If anything, just go buy the boxers, not the briefs, but buy the boxers with the bamboo for nighttime. And thank me later. You know what I mean? Just
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be good. Yeah. Other than that, on the golf course, Pat, I'm with you. I think obviously you got 3 par 5s here on this par 71, so a couple of them are gettable. One of them's pretty long. The par 3s are playing pretty long here. Fairway's pretty easy to hit. I think. This is all about your approach shots, putting on these bent grass greens, which can be tricky and tend to be pretty quick. And other than that, man, I like the bombers. I like distance here.
Yeah,
I like distance and I like approach. You're gonna notice a theme with who I pick. I want bombers in form. This is a tough field. We got to remember this field is equivalent to like a major championship field. This is a strong field. The cream typically rises to the top. Bryson, when he won here, was 100-1. Other than that, most of the winners here have come out of the 20-1, 30-1, or shorter odds. I mean, you look at JT, Rory, Ricky in 2015. Those are all shorter odds guys. The cream's going to rise to the top here. You need in-form guys who are ready to score, be aggressive on the holes they can be aggressive on, that bomb it, and the iron plays are tuned in right now. I think that's kind of where we go. The bubble boy thing is something to think about. Only the top 70 after the FedEx Cup points reshuffle comes Sunday night. Only the top 70 are going to advance to next week's BMW Championship, where there is no cut. You're guaranteed a lot more money. You got a chance to play for Eastlake. Getting to Eastlake is a big deal. Not just if you win, but you're automatically in every major. There's all these other exemptions that go along with it. I think the last place finisher at Eastlake gets like $300,000 or something. I mean, it's a deal. So guys who are wanting to position themselves and are on the bubble, I think is worth potentially just to look at if it's a true tiebreaker. I don't think you get too bogged down in it, but if you've got 2 people and you just really can't decide and all things are equal, ownership's equal in terms of DFS, but there's a little more incentive for one guy over another to really come out and play good this week to advance. I think that is something to look at. Also this week, being the last full field event of the season, and the last one we'll have for the next 3 weeks, I don't know about you personally, but in terms of DFS, my bankroll will be at full go this week and likely scaled back next week. And at Eastlake, probably be ramping up the outright, the sportsbook exposure, maybe bringing some units from DFS over into the sportsbook to tackle that. That's just kind of how I like to manage it. I don't like playing DraftKings a whole lot in these no-cut, limited field, 70-man fields, 30-man fields. Just you lose a lot of opportunity for leverage there. So I think you're in agreement with that, right?
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that. So,
but just some things.
Man, we had some close ones last week too.
We did.
I did hit a first round leader bet, but had to split it. By the way, can we talk just real quick about that? Because that was funny. Like you were like, so I'm sweating this thing. I get Harold Varner. I've got him at, I think, 66, 70-1, whatever it was. And I'm sweating 66-1. And he goes out, shoots 8 under in the morning. I'm sweating this thing. And all of a sudden, so DB's getting involved and Ben's getting involved. And we're on the text group together. And like we're all partners. We're partners in a business here and things. And we're trying to like we're supposed to pull for each other. No, not for me. No. Hoagie goes and chips in on 17. Like David's like, all right, he's probably going to bogey here. He's got a tough chip. And he's texting me. I think he's probably trying to just get me worked up and everything. And then Hoagie freaking chips in to go to 9 under. And David's laughing because he texts me like how much he's laughing and chuckling to himself.
I truly was laughing.
And, so it ends up where he does bogey. But then Ronald Sloan, whatever his name is.
Is he running for president?
Jerry Sloan.
Roger Sloan.
Roger Sloan.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's in basketball. Anyway, so
yes.
then Sloan birdies 17, and so he gets in the mix, and he's got a good shot for birdie on 18. So there's just all this chatter going back and forth, and finally I do end up, hitting it and splitting it 3 ways, but it was kind of funny, and I was not happy.
I had a great time. You were so pissed. Yeah, that was a good hit. I mean, it helped you break even on the sportsbook side last week.
It helped break even. That was it.
But that's what happens when you bet. That's what happens when you bet a mid to short range guy. You're going to get a split. You're going to get a split pot a lot on first round leaders. That's why I like going deep on the first round leaders. Give me the 100 to 1s, baby.
Yeah. Well. Anyway,
All
all right. You ready?
Let's get into the picks. We're gonna start with DraftKings picks. Let's talk about the 9K and above range. 3 GPP or tournament plays, a cash play, and a fade. I'm gonna go with the 2 at the top. I like Justin Thomas. I like Bryson DeChambeau for obvious reasons. I talked about inform. Bombers both have won in the last 4 tournaments they played. Obviously, both bombers. Bryson's iron play, wedge play, a little concerning, but coming back here as a champion last time we saw TPC Boston, obviously confident, geared up for the FedEx Cup playoffs. And I love the bomber here. So I'm not going to avoid JT and Bryson. I'll probably have every lineup start with one of those players. That's probably where I'm going to go. Just loving those boys here. Don't care about ownership. Going to play them either way. And then I'm going to go with Morikawa, another guy I don't care about ownership. I don't really care here. But Morikawa, not really a bomber, but plenty long. I mean, long enough. He's 290, 300 off the tee. But we saw what he did at the PGA. I mean, he just doesn't miss screens, doesn't miss fairways. One of his better putting surfaces is bent grass. He sucks on Bermuda, so he gets to come play bent grass. Just don't care about the price for any of, or the ownership or price for any of these 3 guys. I love the win equity. I love the form. I love the course fit here for those 3. The last guy that I like in this range, and you can interchange him, but I think he's the obvious cash play. If you're going to play cash, a 50-50 game or a double up, and that is Jason Day at 9,300. You can't argue with a T4, T6, T4, and T7, his last 4 tournaments that he's played. He's also got a pretty good course history here when you look at overall strokes gained at TPC Boston through the years. He plays this place pretty well. Obviously an incredible putter. And checks all the boxes, and he's 9,300. I think he'll be chalky as well, but in cash, don't think it matters. I think you start there with Jason Day, and you roll with it. He did miss the cut in 2018 here at TPC Boston, but before that, a 25th, a 15th, a 12th, a 7th, a 13th. He loves this place. And my fade, I'm going to go with a bold fade here. Since I gave you some chalk, I want to go with a bold fade in this range. Now, I could say, what's that?
I have a feeling I know where you're going, but I could be wrong.
Well, if I'm going with I want the bombers, then I'm going to fade Webb Simpson. I'm going to fade Webb here. But here's the thing too, like Webb has shown that he doesn't play this place very well. Here are his last 4 finishes at TPC Boston: 49th, 75th, miscut, and a 44th. So rough course history. Distance an issue, and Webb's not short. He's not as short as he used to be. Actually, I think he's gained some distance. But I want the long ball this week, and Webb does not quite give me that. And I think he'll be pretty. I don't know. Maybe he won't be. Maybe everybody will say, "Oh yeah, let's fade the short knockers too." I don't know. He doesn't putt as well on bent. It's his worst putting surface is bent grass. So I'll gladly fade Webb Simpson here, and that is my 9K and above range.
Okay, well, there's some agreement, but there's also some major disagreement. I will say, by the way, Morikawa, I don't have him listed. I like him, though, but I also like him he's at 25 to 1. That's just, I think, way too long for him. He's a 5th-ranked player in the world right now. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I just, that number is...
It's a big field, though. It's a stacked field.
Yeah, but still, just the way he's playing. But I am totally with you on Bryson DeChambeau. He is my top GPP play at 11-1 for all the reasons that you said. Like him or not, this is a good course fit for him. He obviously won it the last time he played here. You talk about bombers. He's a different bomber now than he was in 2018 when he won. Yeah. So, I mean, you take all of that and put the way he's doing, playing right now. I mean, I think he's just a total lock. I love him in tournaments, so I will play him. I have Jason Day listed as a GPP play. Now I could see cash, but totally. Whatever. I like him as a tournament play for all the same reasons. Just the way he's playing right now. He's number 2 in the field and putting on bent grass greens over the last 100 rounds. So he's definitely comfortable there. So I like that. My last GPP play is actually Patrick Cantlay at 9,200. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be lower owned. Now he's going to give me a super headache all week. Probably. We didn't see him play that well in the PGA. He did make the cut though, and came back.
He killed me at the PGA.
But he's played well here though. He finished top 25 in 2018. He was T13 in 2017. You look at the stats. Obviously, he's plenty long out here. He's 24th in the field in approach, 26th off the tee, 22nd in birdie or better percentage, number 1 in the field in par 5 scoring. I mentioned that was something that I was looking at in the course breakdown. So I like Cantlay, and I think his ownership's going to be low. I do. I think when you got Day around him, you got, I don't even know, Koepka might even be higher end than Cantlay. I don't know, maybe not, but
no.
But still, I just think
not after last week.
Probably, maybe. But anyway.
Yeah, I do think you're going to get some leverage with Cantlay for sure. God, he irritated the piss out of me last at the PGA.
But my cash play is actually your fade, and that's Webb. I think we're getting him at 9,500. I understand all the reasons you said, and that was why I actually looked at him and I wondered, what I'm going to do with him. But I think with a guy like Webb, he's playing differently now than if you're just looking back at his history here of the last few years. I mean, his play right now is just elite in this, and he's an elite player in this field. I mean, I just feel like he is a guy that you can just plug in your lineup at 9,500 for cash. You're getting him a little bit cheaper than I do like Day, by the way, in cash. So I can't really go against you on Day for cash, but I just feel like Webb is just that consistent style player that can play well on this course. And you mentioned his history. Yes, it hasn't been great all that lately, but he did have a top 10 back in 2014 when he was in better form than he's been over the last few years. Because you got to take into account the fact that he was struggling with that putter for a long time. He couldn't do the long putter anymore and all that other kind of stuff. So I think that skews some of the history here. So I'm fine with playing Webb, and I like him in cash at 9,500. I do think his ownership is going to be relatively high. And if it's low, then hell, I play him in tournaments too.
I think it's going to be a little low. I actually think it's going to be low. Yeah. He's only gained strokes. Let's see. He's gained strokes tee to green at this golf course twice, 2 out of 4 trips. The one time he gained the most tee to green, he lost the most putting, and that's the one missed cut. The other time, he only gained about a half a stroke tee to green because his chipping was great. But like ball striking here, he is not great. And I think it's because it's just a big golf course. He's hitting a lot of long irons, and he's a great long iron player, and he's a good hybrid fairway wood player. But over 72 holes, it's tough to keep up with this elite kind of field, this elite long kind of field.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I just think that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that TPC Harding Park was that was a big boy golf course. He still finished okay there. I mean, I just don't think that it's completely takes him out of the running.
More of a premium in being in the fairway at TPC Harding Park, though.
Probably so.
Much different than this course, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't mind him. If you want to play him in tournaments, you want to play him in cash, I don't mind at all. My fade this week, and this is more like self-serving, because I'm probably going to end up putting him in some lineups, and that's Rory. It's just like, I can't ever figure that damn guy out. But you know what? I mean, you look at his history here is obviously good because he's won a couple times. He did miss a cut in 2017, and he was T12 in 2018, which is good. And I mean, everything points to him playing well here, but he's not playing that great recently. He's been very just blah. When you think of a guy that you're getting as a third highest priced guy at 10-8, so I'm going to fade Rory, but you know what's going to happen on Wednesday night? I'm going to put him in some damn lineups because that's what always happens.
Don't do it. I mean, just don't do it. The irons have been pretty poor with Rory.
Yeah, no, they have.
Historically, a better Bermuda putter than Bent, and yeah, I mean, he just hasn't been able to put 4 together. Thus kind of the lackluster finishes. I think he'll be low owned. If that's your only reason you want to play him, then you can do that. I mean, he's still Rory McIlroy. He's still an elite player. So, but he's definitely just not clicking at the moment. So
Yeah, I mean, his putting too has just been terrible. I mean, since the restart, he's lost strokes putting in every event except for two, but still, I don't know. I'm off Rory this week. You need to like tell me on Wednesday, like, hey Pat, you said you're gonna fade Rory. Don't put him in the lineup. Just do what you said you're gonna do.
Okay, I'll tell you that. Let's get to the 8K range. There's 3 guys in this range I really like, and I think you could. I think one I'm going to stick to strictly playing in tournaments. The other 2 I would interchange between cash and tournaments. But I'll start off with the tournament GPP plays. I'm going to go back to the well. Tony Finau at 8,800. In form, bomber. Best surface is bent. 8 of his last 12 rounds he's had in the 60s since the restart. He finished T4 here last year, 24th a couple years prior to that. Not last year, the last time they played TPC Boston. So I'm going to keep going back to Tony Finau. And I tell you, I said this at the PGA. I don't know if I said it in the recap last week, but Sunday at the PGA, I felt like he looked a little different. He looked like he was a little more ready to win. I think I texted the group this.
Yeah, I think you texted that. I agree with that.
He just looked a little different, man. I think he came out, knowing what he had to do and came out and shot a good number. Other than the poor decision I think he made off the tee on 16 that day to try to draw a hybrid or fairway wood or whatever it was into that hole where I don't know why he just didn't hit a cut shot. I don't know. Other than that, I really feel like he played very well. He putted well. He attacked pins. He didn't look scared. He looked ready to go ahead and win a big one. I don't know. I just saw something there with Tony. So I'm going to keep riding the hot hand with Finau. And then I think I might get some leverage. I don't know. Maybe he's getting talked up, but I think I'm going to get a little bit of leverage with Hideki at 8,600. I'm going to go back to Hideki. I had him in the PGA, finished 22nd in the PGA. He's just a top 20, top 25 machine since the restart. You're only paying 8,600 for him. His best putting surface is bent grass, despite not gaining any strokes, but he loses strokes everywhere else. So he's coming to a surface that he's familiar with, that he's good on. He hits it long enough. He's not a super bomber, but he's top 3rd in this field in driving distance, and his irons are still really good. It just all comes down to the putter for Hideki, but the putter hasn't been super, and he's still pulling off 22nd, 22nd, 21st place finishes with one blip on the radar at Memorial that played extremely difficult. So I like Hideki at 8,600, and I feel like he's going to be a little lower owned. I feel like he is. Maybe not, but I think he is. And then for cash, I got to go with my boy Daniel Berger, 8,900. I'm going to keep riding Berger. Now, he doesn't putt as well on bent as I would like him to. But the ball striking is incredible. What can you say about the form? It's incredible. I'm going to keep going with Berger. I think Berger and Finau are interchangeable cash plays in this range if you want to do a 50-50 or double up lineup. But those are the main 3 that I like. I just think I'll get a little more leverage in tournaments with Hideki. My fade is going to be Justin Rose. Very spotty form. I mean, he's clearly all over the map right now, just not anything I can really trust. And I get that I'm getting a price break at $8,000 for a name like Justin Rose, but you were suckered into it last week and he missed the cut. He finished 9th at the PGA despite hardly hitting any freaking fairways. He scrambled his British dick off. And I just don't see that continuing to happen week after week. Now, he does come to a putting surface he likes, but even his course history is a little underwhelming. Like, it's not terrible, but it's not great. It's not what you would think Justin Rose would have done here over the last 5 years or 8 years. Like, it's just not great. So I think he's a fade for me.
I think Rose too is like, I mean, if you look at like FedEx standings, he's like 109, 110, something like that. I feel like he's just ready to kind of mail it in. Like he's so far off, like that
he'd have to have a huge week.
Yeah, he wants to take a break, and I don't know. And like again, you said you don't want to put a whole lot into the standings and whatever else, but I just he'd have to have a big week to make it to the next week, and I don't know, not feeling him at all. All right, well, I'll start with where we agree, and that is the cash play, and I think this again, it's just pretty obvious. Daniel Berger at 8,900. I mean, you got to keep riding.
You're finally getting on the burger train with me.
I've been on the burger train all season long.
I thought
I was
you were,
on the
like,
burger
not really feeling
train.
it.
I was on the burger train back before the pandemic. We need to go check the tape. You need to go we need to find this.
We need to hire an intern at TJ to be able to check the tape when we ask that.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead. Daniel Berger.
It's always good when you're listening to some sort of big time radio show and you can say check the tape, and then all of a sudden there's a guy right there that's immediately plays a clip of Pat saying that he was on burger for the Arnold Palmer or some shit. Anyway, I like Adam Scott at 8,400. You didn't like him at the PGA.
I didn't.
And he actually performed pretty well. He was the first one that I've called coming off of, a long break that actually played fairly decent. He's played well here in the past. He's won this tournament. Now it was way back in 2003, but still, he has won here. You look at the stats. He's 48th in approach. He's 37th in birdie or better percentage. Eagles gained, which is a little, kind of off the wall stat, but these guys are going to make eagles this week on these par fives. He's in the top 20 in the field. He's 10th in greens in regulation. I think Adam Scott is a good play at 8,400. I think he'll be certainly low owned. He's right there around Hideki. I think he could be a pivot point. You talk about your pivot point article. Hideki's right there. Paul Casey's right there in his range. You got Fleetwood, who he's my fade. Fleetwood's my fade at 8,300. I've been loving him. I've been loving some Fleetwood, but I just can't get on any of his. I mean, his iron play hasn't been good at all. I mean, nothing. I mean, you look at par five scoring, it's not there. Greens and regulation, all the things that Tommy Fleetwood has been doing good for his entire career, he's not doing very good at all right now. I mean, he's doing it in spurts. We saw it at the PGA. He had some good rounds or one good round, and then just kind of fizzled out at the end. So Fleetwood, by the way, just sort of transitioning into that, is my fade at 8,300. I don't mind fading Tiger, by the way, at 8,700, but that's just, we can talk Tiger.
He loves this golf course, though. What do you do with Tiger? He plays really well here.
He does.
I mean, I'm shocked at you because you want to play Tiger when he's 9,400 at the PGA in the cold weather, and you don't want to play him now when he's in the 8K range. I think he's still going to be somewhat around that 10% mark. But he's got a great record here, and it looks to be warmer in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, again, I may play him. I'm not as. That's why Fleetwood's I'm more sold on fading Fleetwood than I am on.
You'll end up having
Tiger.
all the Tiger and Rory lineups before it's all, and Fleetwood. You'll have Fleetwood too.
No, probably will.
Last week in the Nut Hut Listener League, by the way. In the Nut Hut Listener League, I have determined the last few weeks that I would have a themed lineup just because I'm not trying to win the thing because that's for listeners. And last week I put in the all Pat chalk team, all the guys that Pat loves to play. And it finished like DFL.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good promotion for the show, but I appreciate that anyway.
Well, it's just a bad week. It was a bad week for your boys. It was actually good players. On paper, I was like, oh, these are good players.
Well, there was a couple in there that I didn't even like for that week. Like you had Patrick Rogers in there, which I didn't like.
No. It wasn't for that week. It was just like when I see these names, I think of guys that Pat likes to play.
Gotcha. Okay.
Remember back in the day, like in the early days of the podcast, you loved some Patrick Rogers.
Oh yeah, he was.
Now it's kind of shifted to me a little bit. Like but you used to love some Patrick Rogers in the early days.
A huge fan. Well, if you want to put a guy that I have just loved all year in your lineup this week, then go with Victor Hovland because he is my other GPP play. I like Victor Hovland this week. Screw all this scrambling stuff. Don't come at me with all the scrambling numbers. I don't care. I mean, the guy is just. I mean, he's awesome off the tee, approach, birdie or better percentage, par five scoring, greens and regular, everything Victor Hovland does well. He's got to win eventually. And I'm not saying he needs to win this week. I mean, he's at 8,200, so it's not like you have to have him win. But I think he has tremendous upside.
Well, he won in Puerto Rico.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, this week,
I think it's an interesting week for him. You got wide fairways, and he's gonna hit a fairway regardless. But
Yeah,
and then you got slightly larger greens, so maybe he's not doing as much scrambling, and he's if the irons are off, he's doing more putting, lag putting.
yeah.
Interesting week for Hovland. I don't hate the Hovland play.
So I like him at 8,200. So there you go. My kind of bonus there was Finau. I'm with you there.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Let's get to the 7K. But before we do, we got a lot of listeners here who are likely professionals who may hire people. And when you start the hiring process, you're going to have questions. Your questions might be, will I find good applicants to choose from? What about education experience? And how will I know that I've made the right hire? Well, Indeed is here to help millions of great candidates use Indeed every day to find their next opportunity. And you can post the job in just minutes and use the screener questions
You sound like
to help
me.
create your short list of applicants fast. Also, you can add skills tests to your job post so you can be confident in your applicant's abilities. Their library of more than 50 skills tests ranges from industry-specific skills like accounting to general aptitude tests like critical thinking. Indeed gives you the smart tools to make hiring decisions quickly and to be confident that you're making the right hire for your team. Post your job today at Indeed.com/Tour Junkies and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting. That is Indeed.com/Tour Junkies. Terms and conditions do apply. Offer is valid until they tell you it's not valid. So there you go. Thank you, Indeed, for helping out the Tour Junkies. They've been around for a couple months. We appreciate them. So if you're a professional now, hop on it. All right, let's talk the 7K range. Pat, will you start there so that I can go? I need a little more mixer because I'm about to finish this off, and if I do, I will arrive to Planet Wild Leap. I'll be in the wilderness with Wild Leap very quickly and may not be able to edit the show.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
So you start the 7K.
I will start us off, and I am going to start us off at 7,800 with my boy Matthew Wolff at 7,800. I love him this week.
I love Matt Wolff. Total agreement there, actually. I haven't loved Matt Wolff more at any golf tournament than I do right now. I love him so much I could kiss him right now. Pre-tournament, I could kiss him.
Yeah, this is a great week for him. And look, I mean, you look at his recent form. I mean, he was 22nd at Memorial, 12th at the 3M. He had he was 49th at the WGC, whatever. We'll throw that out. T4 at the PGA Championship at his last start where he played really well. If he had just made some putts coming down the stretch, he could have been right there with this guy Colin, but he didn't. But I mean, this is a great course fit for him. You look at the stats. I mean, he is, across the board, one of the top guys that I'm looking at. 18th in strokes gained approach. He is 7th and off the tee, 5th in birdie or better percentage, 29th eagles gained, 16th in par 5 scoring, 16th in greens and regulation. Like literally everything. I mean, Matt Wolff is just the perfect fit for TPC Boston. I think he's going to have a great week. I don't think the ownership's going to be terribly high on him. We'll see when we start to look at that here on Tuesday and Wednesday. But I love him this week, so I will play a lot of him and also bet him.
I think he's going to be chalky.
Yeah.
God, I think he's going to be chalky.
I wish he wasn't. I'm still going to ride the hot hand with Kevin, with old Kiss at 7,600. Ben had him as a chalk bomb, and that didn't really work out too well last week.
That was the first really failed chalk bomb in a minute.
I think again, Kiz is one of those guys that just when he's riding hot, you gotta just go with him. He is 4th in the field in putting on bent, so we know he putts well on the surface. It's now I know he's not the longest player out there, but he's still
he's pretty long. I mean, he's not long, but he's
long enough. He's 58th in strokes gained off the tee. 25th in birdie or better percentage. I just think that, the main thing for me with Kiz is just when I get him in good form or I see him in good form, that's when I want to play him. So I like him at 7,600. My last guy, now you could probably predict this, and that is Alexander Noren at 7,100. Now, there's several reasons you could look at playing him. One being he putts well on bent grass greens. He's 13th in the field in putting on bent grass greens. you look at his. Hang on, I got distracted by beeping in my ear.
Putting. Okay. Bent.
Anyway, okay.
Yep.
Look at his.
Yep.
You look
Come
at his
on.
last 2 events. He was T3rd at the 3M Open. He was top 20 at the PGA Championship. I just think that like this is another good spot for him. He's also, as you mentioned, kind of a bubble boy, and that was really where I was trying to find out where he was because he's right there. Yeah, he's 78th in the field, or 78th in FedEx Cup points right now. So he's got to have a good week if he wants to make it to the BMW Championship. So I think that's something you could look at as well for Alex Noren. So that 7,100 number I think is really good for him. For cash, I'm just going Harris English at 7,600. I mean, the guy's just every week. He's solid every single week. That's a good price for him. I like Harris English in cash. And you know what? My fade is going to be freaking Siwoo Kim. You missed Siwoo Kim week. That's what happens if you just fall asleep, because Siwoo doesn't have a good week every week. So if you didn't play him last week, you missed the week. You missed.
He had a good week. Didn't he have a good week the week before too?
I don't care. You missed. I feel like you've now missed it after what I saw Sunday, and he played fantastic on Saturday and everything else. I just feel like you missed Siwoo week.
Yeah, he finished 13th at the PGA, 18th at the Memorial.
You missed it.
I did miss it, and I usually do miss it with Siwoo.
Me too.
Because I'm rarely on him because he's so inconsistent. And what a dumb decision he made on number 6 or whatever it was. But let me tell you guys something. God, I just wish maybe Pat, we need to get maybe we'll get every time I see Siwoo, I laugh because we've heard a couple of stories about Siwoo from our caddy friends that are freaking hysterical. And I would do anything to be able to share them with some of the listeners. Maybe it's a Nut Hut share. Maybe we can trust the Nut Hutters to not go out and blast it.
I think this is.
But we should talk to our caddy friends about making sure we could pass some of this stuff. Because let me just tell you, Siwoo was. I
really like Siwoo. He is an electric.
He is.
And there's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
I love Siwoo, but I never get him right in DFS, and so I'm going to fade him this week and just feel like that I missed the opportunity to play him because I always do. And if I would have said I liked him this week, I know what was going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Is that it for you in the sevens?
I have a ton of side players that I would love to mention, but since we have to keep it crisp, I'm not going to mention them.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. I'll start with my fade. My fade is basically American Justin Rose, and it's Ricky Fowler. So instead of his British dick, it's his American dick that's sucking right now. Very hit or miss form, up and down. Underwhelming course history as well, a lot like Rose. Yes, he's won, but that was in 2015. But even when you look at other years, it's nothing fantastic. He's not as long, considerable as relative to what he was in 2015. I'm out on Ricky. I just don't think so. And I think in the sevens, he's going to be popular. People are going to want to play it. In cash, it's Matt Wolff for me. Love Matt Wolff all around, cash, tournaments, whatever. But I think in terms of, if I thought about the play that I feel the best about, the safest about in the 7K range, it is Wolff, which is crazy to say. But at this course, with his form, it's Matt Wolff. So he's a cash play for me, but I would also play him in any format. If I'm going to try and get a little bit of leverage in tournaments, the 3 that I'm going to pick, I'll start from the lower end. I'm going to play Phil again. I've been feeling a little Phil Mickelson love over the last couple of weeks. Okay, finished second at the WGC St. Jude. Didn't do so great at the PGA. The PGA, he misses fairways, and that's very penal. Not as easy to.
It's not a good spot for him.
Yeah, not as easy to miss fairways here. They're pretty wide, not as penal. He actually has great course history here, really good record here, and he's flashing some form, and he's aggressive. He's 67th in the FedEx Cup ranking, so he's a bubble boy. Right now, he's inside the BMW for next week, but he's a bubble boy. And I can't imagine, as competitive as he remains to be, he wants to be a one and done in this year's FedEx Cup playoffs. So I think he's going to come to play, and I think a lot of people are going to be afraid to play him. And you got scoreable conditions here on a course that he knows very well, that he's played many times, and he's flashing some form. I think we could see a little magic out of Phil this week. So I like Phil. And then I'm going to go right up there with him at 7,300, and I'm going Byung-Hun An for the tee to green possibility that Byung-Hun An brings. And we come to the putting surface that he putts the best on while still losing strokes, because Byung-Hun An equals losing strokes on the putting surfaces, but he loses the least amount of strokes on bent grass greens, coming off a 22nd at the PGA, 12th at the WGC, 2 stacked fields, two decent, tough golf courses, but scoring, score when you have to kind of spots. The iron play, the greens and regulation play, solid. He's not a short hitter by any means. Top third of the field, really, in terms of distance. And at $7,300, I'll ride or die with the hot Byung-Hun An. He also tends to score and make birdies when he's rolling. And then my final.
So you mentioned I couldn't talk about my extras.
Yeah,
but I can at least confirm.
Yeah.
So one of my extras was been on.
Okay.
So I'm gonna. So if you mention one, I'm just gonna do a little check mark
of course.
on the screen here.
Okay. The final GPP play for me is Cam Champ. Bombers in good form, scoring. Cam Champ checks the box. 12th at the Rocket Mortgage, 25th at the St. Jude, 10th at the PGA. Fell apart on Sunday. Now, the putter concerns me. The putter always concerns you with Cam Champ, and he putts the worst on bent grass. That kind of sucks. But give me the distance, give me the strokes gained off the tee, the greens and regulation numbers in a short field where, if you can get him through the weekend, he can definitely go out and have a low round of the day on a Saturday or Sunday. So I like Cam Champ at 7,600. I just think there's a lot of value in the sevens. I said that my favorite plays in the top were JT, Bryson, Morikawa, all above the 10K number. And then, of course, Bryson and JT, the two most expensive players. So naturally, down here in the 7K range, it's guys like Champ, Phil, Byung-Hun An, who I think are really cheap and have a lot of upside and can compete in a golf tournament of this caliber. And Matt Wolff, who is expensive, but whatever. All right, let's get to the 6K range and button up the DFS portion of tonight's show, Pat. I got 4 names that are popping for me. 4 names. First one, first one. Right there. Where is it? Where did he go? Oh, yeah. Brendan Steele, $6,800. Tee to green game is really solid right now. Can't putt worth a plug nickel on bent grass, but here's hoping he can overcome. He's got 26 rounds at TPC Boston in his career. So he's played a lot. The course history is not great, but he's got experience here. So, that counts for something despite it not being great. But he does come here in good form. 22nd PGA, 13th at Memorial, 6th at the Travelers, just in his last 4 events. So give me some Brendan Steele at 6,800 and the upside that you have with him. He can score. We know that too about Brendan. Then I'm going to go to Henrik Norlander, who I hopped off of last week at the Wyndham, finished T59, didn't hurt me. He was a little chalky, but I think some folks are going to hop off the Norlander train in this stacked field. But I love the fact that you get him at 6,600 and he's just making cuts right now because he's so deadly tee to green. He's kind of like, don't wig out. This is not overreaction theater time, but he's a little bit like Morikawa. He doesn't hit the ball. Hold on.
A lot of people are laughing at that.
He doesn't hit the ball super far. He doesn't hit it far, but he's not short. He's 290. He can move it out there to 300, 305 when but he doesn't miss a lot of fairways and he doesn't miss a lot of greens. He just doesn't. And so he doesn't get himself into a whole lot of trouble. He just can't putt, and he's a worse putter than Morikawa by far, and probably doesn't have the short game. But I just like that in a short field event. I like the opportunity to make the cut, and he still had some really solid, good finishes in some strong fields since the restart. Then I'm going to go to a boy who I love to play, I love to play this young man, the Gooch. The Gooch is loose. Taylor with no Y, Gooch at 6,500 is a birdie machine. He's an aggressive young bomber who can great iron play. Sometimes he's a little erratic with the driver, so kind of crazy. But I think the wider fairways will do him some good. Finished 25th last week. Good form coming in. Kind of hit or miss, but when he makes the cut, he plays well. And we've seen him play well in tough fields. So give me some Taylor Gooch. And finally, all the way down at 6,300, a guy that I've enjoyed playing, and it tends to pay off. He's got a T15 last week and a T12 at his event before that, and that is the Australian long-hitting Cameron Davis, 6,300. Checks all the boxes: distance, strokes gained approach, greens and regulation, best putting surface is bent. Cam Davis at 6,300 offers quite the upside and scoring potential in a bomber on a course like this. So that's it.
Okay. Well, I'm not in a ton of disagreement with any of those players. I will mention with Norlander at least too that he is sitting at 68th in the FedEx Cup standings. So he certainly would love to make it into the top 70 and then maybe give himself a shot outside.
By the way, Taylor Gooch, 62nd.
Yeah, so I think that's something interesting about Norlander. For me, I got a few guys here. They're mainly really up at the upper, like from 6,500 and above here. But a guy that I've liked, and he didn't play last week. He skipped last week, but I don't think it was really because of any injury type concerns. That's Lanto Griffin at 6,700. I think he is a good play this week. He is amazingly enough. What is his number? Is he 12, 13? He's 12th. He is 12th in FedEx Cup points.
Yeah, do you remember his fall?
Yeah, I know. He had a fantastic fall, but I know he would love to get to, the Tour Championship, and he's got a great shot to do it. I mean, like there's people that could certainly move ahead of him, but I just feel like there's a lot of motivation for him this week. He's made 18 of 24 cuts this year. The stats aren't going to wow you for him, but I just think Lanta has a lot to work for this week. So I like him at 6,700. I also like Mackenzie Hughes at 6,700. I think he's another good play. Checks the box and birdie or better percentage.
He's took that shot of ranch water again.
He putts well on bent grass greens. I think old Mackenzie Hughes is a good solid play this week. And then he finished 13th back here in 2017, the last time he played here. So he played well here back in 2017. So I like him as well. I like Richie Werenski at 6,500, another guy that's, just coming in and pretty decent form. Everybody wanted to talk about him for the PGA Championship. That was not the time to play him after his win. That was not the type of course. But this course, I think, does fare well for him. He's had a pretty good, solid year. So I like some Richie Werenski. Last player I like, who we saw play really well last week at 6,700 as well. As you can tell, I love that range. And that's Denny McCarthy. I think he is a good play this week.
You're going with some short knockers, man.
I don't care.
Have you recently acquired a weed pin?
I don't care. Denny McCarthy is a good player. Top 10 last week, T58 at the PGA Championship, which is, by the way, is another course where, it really favored the longer guys. I know he's straight, but whatever. 32nd in the 3M, T58 at the Memorial. So I think Denny's just – here's the thing that I like with some of these guys that I'm looking at in this bottom range is that –
Please do tell.
One of the things we've seen in the playoff events is you can get kind of a guy with a little bit of a hot hand, and they continue that through the playoffs. So we'll see.
Hey, speaking of hot, I don't know if the YouTube viewers have paid any attention, but this polo that I got on right now, pretty hot. You know what I mean? TJ Polo. And if you're a Nut Hut member, you get 20% off of all TJ.com purchases.
And I'm looking at the inventory. We have way more of those than we do of these, what I'm wearing, which is we have one left, I believe, as opposed to
one left in the one you're wearing. What size is it? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I think it's large. but I'm not positive. I could
Okay.
go look, but
No, don't worry about it. All right. Well, we both look very hot in these Tour Junkies polos. People need to get on that. All right, Pat. That takes care of the DFS portion. Let's talk some sportsbook outrights, some top 10 numbers, some top 20 numbers that are kind of catching our eye early on in the week, Monday night, as we sit here today. I think we talked about the golf course. We talked about TPC Boston, what it has produced in years past. It has produced primarily your short to mid odds winners. Other than Bryson, who won at 100-1 in 2018, it's been basically your 40, 50-1 or shorter. With Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy winning. You even got Ricky in 2015, who at that time was probably a shorter number. So you do tend to see the cream rise to the top, which your boy DB hates weeks like this. It could not be more opposite than last week at the Wyndham, where we knew literally anyone in the field could have won, even 500-1 gastroenterologist Dr. Jim Herman. This week it is not likely. So it pains me, but I'm going to have to stay a little more disciplined this week with my picks, but I still have some triple digit numbers that I like right now. So let's start with the shorter numbers, and where are you looking to start kind of building an outright card for the Northern Trust?
Well, for me, I'm going to start with a guy we didn't mention at all on the show so far, and that is DJ at 22-1. I mean, I think you're getting a guy, obviously a bomber. His history here has kind of been, from what I remember, well, actually, it's not bad. You look at the last 3 years.
No, DJ's got a good record here.
Yeah, he's finished in the top 20 with a T8 in 2016. T7 in 2018. So I think at 22-1, that's a really good number for DJ. So I like that. I mentioned earlier in the show that Colin Morikawa at 25-1, I think is still a good number. I like Jason Day at 26-1. I think he's another guy that can win here and has a great record here. Cantlay, you don't like, but I still like that number at 35-1. I think that's good. And if we're in the mid range, I still like Hovland at 55-1. I think that's a good number. There's a lot of guys, actually. I could literally go through a ton that I think that in the mid to short end range that we have some really good betting odds on. But those are the first ones that I wrote down as ones that I will be playing.
I definitely like Jason Day at 26. That's as short as I'm going to go. And even that just makes me kind of, feel weird. But you can't argue with what Jason Day's doing right now. And 26, I think, is going to be shorter come like Tuesday afternoon. I think that's going to be bet down, considering his form. His record here is good, and the course fit. 26-1 is an attractive number. I mean, that's a good number. Then I'm going to hop all the way back, though, to your 55. You mentioned Hovland. I like Scheffler instead. I just think from what we saw Scheffler do at the PGA, who, by the way, I mentioned this about Finau when we were talking about the DFS section, looked like he was ready to win on Sunday and kind of just looked different. Scheffler had that look in his eye too. He just didn't.
He really did.
He just didn't pull it out, but he did not seem fazed whatsoever by the field, by the stage, by what was happening. And the guy's a gamer. He hits it a long way, and 55-1 is an interesting number when we're seeing guys like Morikawa come out, rookies on tour, come out and do what they're doing. Wolf, doing what he's doing. I like that number, and I prefer it over Hovland if I'm going to pick one in this range, just for the very recent form in a big field, a big event. Scheffler's a little longer than Victor. That would be why I would pick him over Hovland. Then we're crazy not to bet Matt Wolff at 70-1 on currently it's 70-1 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, in the other trusted sportsbook that we talk about weekly, that we feel like has the most accurate golf lines out there, doesn't necessarily mean you want to bet them. Matt Wolf is at 50-1. 50-1. He's at 70-1 on DK Sportsbook. So I've already put my bet down on Matt Wolf. I can tell you right now, he's already on the card at 70-1 because I think that number is going to get shorter. We talked about length being such an advantage here. He's playing so well. Tough to avoid that one. Now, a guy that you mentioned in the DFS section that we never get right, and neither one of us are playing in DFS. Neither one of us ever play him in DFS. But why not throw a little half unit on Sung J M Siwoo Kim, not Sung J M. Siwoo Kim.
Yeah, I think you're right on Kim. Yeah.
At 100-1. He's 100-1. He battled back after that early double bogey on Sunday at the Wyndham. Could have won the Wyndham. And he's 100-1 in a field of 125. Like, I don't know. Like, he's a bomber. Siwoo hits it a long way. He's aggressive. We saw that a little too aggressive at the Wyndham. But you got wide open fairways here. He can rip it. He's 82nd in the FedEx Cup. So he's got to have a good week to get to the top 70 and play the BMW next week. I think 100-1 is too attractive to pass up on Siwoo. And then just behind him at 110-1, I'm going to go with another bomber, probably the longest guy on tour. And Bryson would hate to hear this, but 110-1, Cam Champ. Actually, he's already been bet down. So he was 110-1 this afternoon. He's now 100-1 on DraftKings. That's still a good number. 100-1 on DraftKings. Love Cam Champ. We saw him at the PGA. Could have won it on Sunday at the PGA. He's 90-1 on that trusted sports book that I mentioned earlier. So he's still a value despite already getting shorter from the afternoon. And then finally, my last one, I'm going to go deep. But if you're going to go this deep, you go with a guy who's played here a ton of times, who's got a ton of experience, and that is Phil Mickelson at 140-1. Phil's flashed a little form, almost won the FedEx St. Jude 3 weeks ago. He's a bomber, aggressive. These wide open fairways will be nice for him. Can obviously putt really well on bent grass. 140-1 is worth a little sprinkle, little quarter unit, little half unit, whatever you want to do on Phil. Also 67th in the FedEx Cup. So just inside the number for next week to make it to the BMW. So I'll go Phil. You got any top 10s or top 20s?
Well, I have other bets and this, outrights.
Oh, I thought you were done.
No, I just gave you the top end. I stopped at Hovland.
Well,
but I had
give them all
more.
to me.
Yeah, so I mentioned Noren as a guy in the DFS portion I liked. I like him at 100-1. I like Ben On at 110-1. I think that's a good number for him. I'm surprised you didn't mention our boy Joel Damon at 175-1. I still think, even though he missed the cut last time he played here, I still think this is a good course that he can play well on, and we've seen him play well all year. And I just can't not bet him at least a little bit. And obviously played well at the PGA Championship, so I like him. And another guy at 175-1 who's had pretty good success here and good, decent course history and has been playing well, and that's Ryan Palmer at 175-1.
Oh.
He would kill me to play him in DFS, but if I could put him at like a few units on him to win at 175-1, we've seen
a few units.
Like
a quarter unit or something,
like a quarter.
Yeah.
At 175-1, I don't mind that as well. As far as top 10s and top 20s, didn't mention him on the show, but I like Hadwin as a top 10 at 11-1. Obviously a great putter, putts well on bent. I think he is a decent play. I like Mickelson. I like him outright, but I don't mind the top 10 at 11-1 as well. I think that's something to look at. I don't really have any top 20s, but those are really the only two top 10s that I had.
Okay, I got a couple players I like both in top 10 and top 20. I like Max Homa, who we haven't talked about one time, but I like Max. He's 57th in the FedEx Cup right now. Got a chance to go as deep as he's ever gone in the FedEx Cup playoffs. 57th, just kind of inside that 70, a little more comfy than some other players, but still needs to have a good week. He is 20-1 for a top 10. This is a guy who's won a big event at Quail Hollow, who's played well in big time events before, just needs to put four together. I think 20-1 is a sizable top 10 number for Max Homa. He's 8-1 in the top 20 range. I mean, I think that's really solid.
I
for
don't
guys
mind
in
that.
drafts.
I don't mind that at all. Yeah.
And then I'm going to go these two guys, same odds, both Taylor Gooch, who I mentioned in the DFS portion, and Joel Damon, who you just mentioned. I didn't have him outright, but just because to win is going to be tough on this course for Joel. But I do want a little bit of exposure to him. I mean, he's been playing so solid. I think a top 10, top 20 bet for both Gooch and Joel. Top 10, they're both 14-1. That's pretty strong. And top 20, they're both 6.5-1. So Gooch and Damon, there. I do have one more top 10 bet, and it's a player we have not looked at one time. But when I look at the top 10 numbers, I scroll all the way to the bottom, and I start at the longest odds.
That's what I do
F
too.
that 5-1. So I'm not doing that.
I agree. I'm not doing any of that.
Listen, I know that the best, the smartest bettors, golf bettors, are going to be way more responsible with the numbers they play. That is not what we are here to give you. We are here to appeal to the less responsible, slightly more cowboy part of you that wants to go a little bigger. Or maybe we are the ones that kind of round out your card. Maybe you listen to somebody else who is really good at those shorter numbers, and they get more wins more frequently, and they build their bankroll. But you want a little bit of a sprinkle with some of those longer, so you come to us for that. Okay, that's what we're here for. I scroll all the way to the bottom of the top 10, and I start going. Give me the biggest number at a name that makes me go ooh, And one more top 10 that made me go ooh was Tom Lewis at 16-1. Top 10, the Euro Tom Lewis, who hits it a long way, has flashed some pretty solid form here of late. Definitely disappointed me at the PGA, but before that was playing rather nicely. 16-1 as a top 10 is attractive for old Tom, not Morris, Lewis. So there you go, Pats. Ready to button this up with the chunk and run?
Yeah, I am. I think so.
You think so? Okay. Let's get to tonight's final segment, the chunk and run, where we talk one question that is golf related, anything golf. One question that has absolutely nothing to do with golf. And we try to have a little fun with this. These are listener submitted questions. By the way, we need more. We're running out. We have a big library, but we are running out of listener chunk and run questions. So we would love for you guys to chime and gals to chime in and email us your chunk and run suggestions at info@tourjunkies.com. That is info@tourjunkies.com. You can email us your chunk and run question. Again, one about golf. It could be DFS, betting. It could be not. It could be real golf. It could be just PGA Tour, anything. And then one question about literally anything but golf. All right. Let's talk about our golf question first. And then I'm gonna also read some tweets some responses we got on Twitter, because these are pretty funny. All right, the question is, who on the PGA Tour? It's election season. I don't know if you know that. Oh God.
Oh, great.
I hope the country is still standing after November, because no matter what happens, it's all going to be a disaster. Stay safe out there, kids. Don't do anything. Stay safe.
Wear a mask, I guess, and
wear a mask and a helmet, probably.
And I got goggles.
Yeah, safety gear. Who on the PGA Tour would make the best president of the good old US of A, and why? Pat, who would be? Now, I couldn't land on one. I kind of have a handful here.
I do have a handful as well.
Okay. So who came to mind when you thought about a presidential figure that is now on the PGA Tour? Who could pull it off?
I feel like this is very obvious, and I think we saw a little bit of this on Twitter, but because you posted something on Twitter. But I'm going to go with Phil Mickelson. I mean, look, he's a guy that's he's got a great personality. He appeals to a lot of different people. Not everybody likes him, which is what happens with politicians. He's got just enough skeletons in his closet to be a good politician, because you gotta have like a few. And
he's got some skeletons.
Yeah, and he's just he likes to, like, he likes people to like him. So like he's gonna probably say things that like maybe sometimes he doesn't actually believe, like a politician might, but he might just say it so people like him. But I just think that I think Phil's probably one of the most obvious answers to this.
Yeah.
And he's a very likable person in general. Like I know some people hate him, just like they might any other politician, but you know, he's sociable with the media. He's sociable with the public when he's walking around, you know, doing his thumbs up. I mean, he even does his thumbs up all the time, just like politicians do.
That's
he does
true.
That
That's
too.
true. I didn't even think about that.
Like he does the whole politician thumbs up kind of thing. Like,
and
you know,
his first act of president would be to find the hottest press secretary to have ever been a press secretary, which right now the record is the current one, Kaylee.
Well, then he's got a.
There's never been one hotter than her.
He's got a tough act to
Phil
follow.
would be like, first order of business is on my watch, we're gonna have a smoke show as the press secretary.
Yeah, tough act to follow, but I agree with that. And he would just, I don't know, but so I think Phil would probably be my first thought. My other thoughts were a guy that I think, like, if I were to actually think a guy that could bring people together, and just because I love his personality, I love how he goes about things, and I think that people would just be drawn to him, and that's Tony Finau. I think Tony Finau would be an excellent president of this country. But
could Tony?
You can't say don't throw that he's not a winner. Don't tell me that
he's not though, and so he's gonna go to go to the negotiating table with China, and we're gonna end up like we're gonna be the United States of China. Like he's gonna just give it, man, yeah.
I don't know. I just think that Finau's such a good dude.
He's too soft. He's too much of a good guy.
Maybe so.
You gotta have a little edge to you.
Okay, my last one. And you mentioned him on the betting card actually just recently, that I think could be a good president and kind of funny, but he's also like got a great personality, and that's Max Homa.
Yeah, I wrote him down.
I think Max Homa could be a good president. I mean, I really do. I think he could be a good president.
He's got the Twitter thing down right now.
He's got the Twitter thing down, like you see with these politicians these days.
He could roast foreign policies of other world leaders.
Yes. But do it in a funny way where he's not like offending anybody.
Yeah.
So like I think that Max Homa could be another guy that I could vote for as president. So there you go. Those are the three I had written down.
So we went along the same lines. So best all around, I actually wrote Phil. There's no Phil would be the best one all around. He'd give you a little bit of everything like we talked about. But I also have the all vanilla team that would just be very vanilla. And that's like Matt Kuchar, Zach Johnson, Billy Horschel, Charles Howell III. I think Charles would probably be the best.
I had CH3, but I was like, he doesn't have he's very articulate and very well spoken, but he doesn't have the personality where like to grab.
He does, man.
But no, because you gotta think about your base. You gotta grab people from outside of your base. I don't know if Charles.
Well, it's the all vanilla team. It's just they're gonna just be. But so then I had the first team disruptors. These are the ones that are gonna disrupt a little bit, and I had Homa written down. I had Boo Weekly for a lot of reasons. And then I had our boy Joel Damon. I think Joel would actually be a pretty interesting president, decision maker, smoking hot mother-in-law. I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Well, maybe his mother-in-law could be the press secretary.
She could double duty. We'd probably get her for cheap. That's not a sexual joke. Just saying she'd be related. But Joel, like kind of he doesn't take no crap, he doesn't take stuff. So like he's gonna tell you what's on his mind.
He's gonna say what's on his mind.
He's gonna get to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, deep down, he's a caring guy. He's a caring guy. So now I do want to read. We had a couple of funny listener ones. A lot of people said John Daly Wouldn't mind seeing John Daly smoking a Pall Mall, bourbon in hand in the Oval Office, which is interesting. This was good. At Dino22, Lucas Glover. Nothing will scare that guy except his wife. That's probably true. He's been hardened, you know. Now, I did write down another disruptor would be Kevin Kisner. And a lot of people talked about Kisner, Marcus Miklovich, our boy Marcus, All-American guy, would be a bulldog in the trade deals. You know, he's a winner, and he can navigate tough situations like being the chalk bomb and yet finishing like top 10. Would bring back the U.S. and USA, us in USA. Yep. And Phil would be his obvious VP choice. They killed it at the President's Cup. All that makes a lot of sense. Lot of Boo Weekly. Lots of Boo Weekly. Now, this was funny. At Soul02, Kuchar. There would no longer be U.S. national debt by the end of the year. Love that one.
I like that one. Kuchar would be like the worst president ever, though.
This is a clever one from Russell in North Carolina. Jim Furyk, the PGA Tour's all-time leader in driving accuracy. You know that he'll never go too far left or too far right.
Okay.
I like that. And then another person says, Canadian Bengals fan says Jim Furyk because he sat next to George Washington in third grade. He learned a thing or two. That's a pretty good one. Pretty good one.
Okay. All right.
Our boy Josh Kistler. He's always in for something interesting. Got to be Bryson. Who else is going to out-muscle Putin? Which is true. We need to be hard on. I want to see paintings of shirtless President DeChambeau atop a wild Kodiak bear, a fearless lion, and a bucking bronco scattered about the White House and Oval Office, but no ants. God forbid we have an ant on or near 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
See, the thing with Bryson, if he were president, you would never get anything done because he would like analyze every single aspect of every single decision, and then like nothing would ever get done. Like there would be.
Can you imagine?
It'd be stalemate, like constantly in the Senate and the whatever else. I mean, there would just be there. You couldn't get anything done with him because he would create. Do you know how many task forces that he would create?
The Fire Ant Task Force.
Like there would be so many. Like he'd spent all his day just saying, "Okay, wait, we need a task force for fire ants on golf courses. You know, we need a task force for how many protein shakes people should drink during a day, like and dietary reasons and all this kind of stuff. Like it'd be way too much for him. It'd be
This one was funny. This was really funny. At Scott Hetzer, Patrick Reed, but we all know the first lady would be calling the shots. Yeah, true. We know that. That's it. Yep. So that was fun. Good job. Nice so let us know. Maybe if you're watching on YouTube, reply in the comments who you think should be the PGA Tour president. Now, the final segment of tonight's show. This is fun for me. It was fun for me. The question is, if you could know 3 stats. Now, I got to say, I did a couple more. But if you could know at least 3 stats from your co-host's daily life, what would you want to know? So if I could know 3 things about Pat's daily life in statistic form, what would they be? I guess I'll start since you started the last one. This was fun for me, and these are very serious. I really, really want to know these. Number 1 is the number of offenses. Number of times Pat feels offended or wants to be a bitch boy. The number of little bitty times. It could be as big as I pissed him off because I said something or I didn't say something very rude, or it could be his wife, or it could be a squirrel, an indecisive squirrel that darted across the road that made him slam on brakes, that made his coffee, and now he's pissed at the squirrel. Or it could be a lady jogging in his gated community that is maybe jogging down the wrong side of the street. It could be someone who didn't put their card up at the grocery store parking lot, and Pat is offended AF at that person. I just want to know daily count of how many times Pat is offended. this one, I seriously, this is actually one I want to know more than any. And this may surprise you. I would love to know how many times Pat does this with his sleeves. I would love to know how many times Pat pulls his shirt sleeve up.
It's a lot.
It is constant.
Well,
I mean, I
it's
would
more
just
on the
love,
show. It's actually more on
I
the
would
show
love
than
to
it is
know.
in real life.
Like, are you
So,
are you just trying to show the guns off? Like, what are we doing here? What is this about?
I don't know. I don't know if you're a big you're not a, I'm not like a huge Clay Travis fan, but if you notice, he does that too. I don't know what that is. Why I
What?
do that.
No, he doesn't. Does he really?
Yes, he does. Watch it. Watch it now. From now on, you will notice it. I don't know why I do that. So we're not asking for answers right now, by the way, are we? So I'm
No,
just,
no,
I'm
no,
not-
no.
okay.
Third, I would like to know the number of words that you speak to yourself. I don't know. I just feel like give me a word count of how many times of word count that Pat that he said out loud only to himself. Probably a lot of times about being offended at something, but just the thinking, the pontificating out loud. I would just want like a word count of that.
That's a lot.
Hours. I would like to know the number of hours spent scrolling Twitter and Instagram without adding any content. That would be something that I could use in the Tour Junkies enterprises to be able to say, Pat, now let's coach. Let's have a coaching session here, buddy. You were on the Twitter and Instagram for 7 hours and 20 minutes today, and you only posted one thing about vitriolic media members at 10:44 p.m. Can you tell me why that was the only thing that you posted?
Because that was the only time that I felt passionate about it. Anyway, go ahead.
And then finally, the last thing is just like and this is just really to help you, because honestly, we've talked about, I'm trying to help you out. Just like the caloric and sugar and carb count on drinks alone. Just what would that be for just drinks? That could be coffee, that could be Cokes, that could be rosé, bourbon. I would like to have a daily report of Pat's caloric intake, his sugar and carbs, so that I could keep him here for longer. We all want Pat here longer. So I would want that. So I could just be like, hey, Pat, you could have eaten freaking 4 Big Macs today and come out better than the bottle of rosé that you took down while you were making the one tweet in the 7 hours and 20 minutes.
Well, I can say I could actually answer that one that would surprise people, and so that's why I want to answer it. Is that the caloric intake from the sugar and whatever else comes from the rosé and the whatever else. It does not come from my daily intake of a diet. Like, I don't drink any soft drinks, so I don't drink like Cokes and things with sugar. I drink water. I drink water a lot during the day, so I don't really. There's not a whole lot of sugar intake from my standpoint, from a drinks and food. Maybe there's some foods that I eat that I don't know have a lot of sugar in it, but there's really not. I'm not a big sugar fan. I kind of try to keep it out of my diet, so that's just for you to know.
That's good. Good for you, buddy. All right, what you got? Hit me.
All right, so I'm gonna start. I got several too. I'd like to know like how many selfies you take in a day. And I wonder like how many selfies you take in a day, but then also how many filters does it take to like get the selfie right? So like I just kind of wonder about that. And like I feel like there's a lot of selfies that are taken and a lot of filter that's being put in there. The second one I would put in is, how many times do you check Pat McAfee's Twitter account?
I checked it today
because DB is obsessed
to see if he
Pat
still
McAfee.
Follows us.
And like how many times you want to do like anything with him? Instagram.
I don't even
Twitter,
do it. Believe it or not, I don't do that once a day. In terms of checking to see if he still follows us, I only do that maybe once a week.
Okay.
But I read all his tweets. Yes.
Speaking of that, I also wondered, because I was doing this the other day, I was trying to hang a picture, and you know how they have this like a stud finder? It's an electronic stud finder that you can like run across a wall and find out where the stud is. Like, I wondered if like how many times in your lifetime have you pointed the stud finder at yourself and like wondered if it like lit up? wondered if
thought
it
of
lit
that
up.
because you've done that. I swear to you, you've
does
done
it
that.
lit up? Does it light up when you point the stud finder at yourself?
You're lit up is what is happening right now. I have never done that.
The last thing though was how many YouTube videos has DB looked at as far as trying to figure out the early extension golf swing and how to prevent it from happening. I mean, how many YouTube golf instructional videos have you watched? Not just with early extension, but like in general.
Yeah.
Like you've probably gone down the wormhole of YouTube videos for that.
Pre-quarantine it wasn't many. It probably was less than 10. Quarantine hit and I had not much to do and I went down it. I went very, very deep. And I'm shocked that you even said that because when I do it, I look on my own YouTube channel. I don't look on Tour Junkies YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
So you wouldn't see the history or
I didn't see it. I just know you.
Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. All right. I think, by the way, since you started talking, your sleeve adjustment count is 4. According, it's just 4. I don't mean since you started talking at the beginning of the podcast. I meant since you started talking about the things that
I do that a lot on the golf course too. I don't know what it is.
You do.
Actually, watch other golfers. They do it a lot. It's not like a pat thing.
Patrick Reed does it. So if you want to be like him, sure.
Oh, great.
Well, and I think on the golf course, it has a little something to do with like you can kind of tuck your I know guys that, and I've done this because I've actually seen this as a YouTube tip. If you
speaking of YouTube,
you do this and you kind of pinch the fabric in that right elbow, so you kind of feel like, and you want to maintain that feeling. So that you kind of stay connected, which I don't, but that's the point. So anyway, all right, good show tonight. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate it. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. The first playoff event of the FedEx Cup. Check out tourjunkies.com. We got all the free content coming your way. Join the Nut Hut. Let's have a great week. May your screens be green. See ya.